Wall.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to welcome our guests today. It's been a very important discussion already on pharmacists and RSS. I'm going to start off, Chair, with what you mentioned last, because you will be aware over the last couple of weeks that I brought this up with the department and various contributors about the net versus gross assessment. And I think it was Ms Doyle started in her introduction about we'd all love to be able to spend what is gross, but in reality it's obviously net. And the problems that faces, and maybe in coming back into us and answering the questions, we can get some examples of how this is affecting farming families and farmers throughout the country, because I've given examples over the last couple of weeks to the department and through this committee of how in my daily clinics the gross versus net argument is affecting people and disallowing them from very necessary issues that they should be entitled to over periods of time. So I'd be very interested to hear how it is affecting our farming community, and obviously to say as well, and it has been said, that pharmacist is needed now more than ever with weather conditions and what farming families are going through at the moment. I also want to talk, I think it was Mr. Fitzgerald, and everyone has spoken about the whole capital test, the 20,000 versus 50,000. And obviously there are social welfare payments like carers allowance and disability allowance where it is at 50,000 at the moment. And I believe that it should be at 50,000 because, as I said the last day, the amount of people that I deal with that are saving, you mentioned it yourself, Chair, for that rainy day, and the Deputy O'Queeve said it as well, that they are saving for that money, but it is actually costing them when it comes to social welfare. That they are saving such money. So I do believe that that capital test should go to €50,000. I'm very interested in Mr. McNamara's when he mentioned about the yearly review on pharmacists, and maybe we could tease that out a little bit more. You will be familiar that other social welfare payments, that there's a percentage of those that are reviewed on an ongoing basis, but not on a yearly basis, in my opinion. So just to tease out that, and he's already mentioned the effects that is having on farming families and on farmers in general. And then finally, just on paperwork, and it's been mentioned again and again and again, and the people that I deal with, farmers that I deal with, the amount of paperwork that they're coming to me in my office to help them with them, and then they're saying, is it worth my while of actually filling out these 18 or 20 pages on the pharmacist form? And that is a huge issue for farmers, the amount of paperwork that they have to fill out at the moment, and it is something that we've spoken about at this committee, Chair, about centralisation and standardisation of forms and the whole social welfare system or social protection system, that, as someone has just said, they have your details already on the system, and why we have to continuously fill out forms. And it's not just for pharmacists, it's for other payments that I deal with the farming community on as well, that they have to fill out such forms. And just to mention the RSS and the importance of it in rural communities, and the rural communities that I live in, RSS is there, it's doing a job day in, day out, and it should continue, and it should be changed to fit for purpose. But just to welcome this discussion to assure farmers that we're listening to them at the moment at this committee on the means test, and I think it's a very important discussion that we've had, but just maybe to get some answers to the questions I've raised, Chair. Thank you.
Sorry, we'll ask the ICMSA first. Mr. Smith.
I suppose just in relation to I suppose the assessment, and we're looking as in that net gross, and I know that the housing income support, I think, is actually based on net means as well. Okay, so just to put that out there as well. In relation to the actual the questions from Senator, it's just, I suppose we're Senator Garvey.
Or Senator Wall, which?
From Senator Wall.
Senator Wall, sorry.
Just, I suppose we're looking, like what you'll probably see is we have quite a lot of agreement among what is in being said from this side of the bench, and I think it's a matter of us actually coming together as the committee and this, and actually powering through and getting something together for the new for the review. Okay, and that's what we'll be hopeful that will come about from this.
Mr. O'Brien.
Just on Senator Garvey's recommendation, maybe Chagas helping fill in forms, I think that's a non-runner, because they're already overpowered filling forms, but they're also overcharging for filling extra ones. So then somebody that's in need of pharmacist won't be able to pay Chagas for filling forms.
Thanks. Ms. Doyle.
We agree with an awful lot of what the Senator has to say. But there's a couple of things. Just you asked for an example of why it's so difficult for farmers to apply for Farm Assist. I'll give you an example that, when they come out to look for, if an inspector comes out to talk to the farmer, he looks for an awful lot of information that you won't have to provide if you go into the Social Welfare Office looking for an unemployment benefit or a job seeker's benefit. I'll give, for example, proof of tenure, that you actually own the farm. Not every farmer is able to pull that out of the box or out of the drawer immediately. He's asked to give a year's accounts, his last year's accounts, going back into the account. And not every farmer goes to an accountant to do their accounts either. They do it themselves. They're allowed to do it themselves. But if you have to go to the accountant to get your accounts done up in a hurry because you're looking for them brought back in a hurry, you need that brought back in. You're also asked to provide receipts for everything that you have there and then. Sometimes those receipts are actually sitting in the accountant's office. Sometimes you actually have to go get them because they're not available. So the length of time it takes to get all this information together can lead to a long period of time before the inspector can come back to you and say, yeah, you are eligible for something, or no, you're not. And that in itself, the crisis may be almost over by the time sometimes the inspector can get back to you with that, or you can provide the information that's necessary. If I go into the look for a job seeker's allowance in the morning, I don't have to prove that I own my house. I don't have to prove any of those kind of things. So, that makes it a lot easier. I just have to prove that I don't have money, that I don't have an income. Whereas the farmer is asked to provide an awful lot of material that is not readily available at hand and takes a long period of time to get. So the crisis is often averted by the time that happens. And just I would like to come in on one other issue there.
So Mr. Buckley.
Yeah, it's just I said two other related issues in terms of just if we're looking at it in terms of recommendations. So if you look at it from the revenue perspective, farmers there's an income averaging principle there for farmers in terms of revenue, and you can opt in for it. I think that certainly, given the cyclical nature here, and the reason it's there is because of the cyclical nature of farming income, and that principle I think needs to be looked at when we're looking at Farm Assist, or a form of that. And I'll give you another example. Like, you take the acres payments. Most farmers are going to receive double acres payments this year. Now, if an accountant was doing their accounts, they would put that in. They could put that in 2023 as money that they're owed as a debit, as a debtor. So money that they could book it in 23, knowing that it came in 2024 because it was actually supposed to be paid in 2023, and so they could adjust the income in the accounts correctly for the double payment. But you're going to have an issue now this year where you're going to have farmers that are going to get 2 acres payments, so their gross income this year is going to have the 2 payments inside it. Okay, some will be disregarded, but that's something that, no, I'm not certain. Maybe the system is designed that it can account for that, but it's something, if it isn't, it needs to be certainly looked at.
Thank you. No. In fairness, I'll bring in, but Senator Wall has been here from the start of the meeting, and we'd like to give him his chance. Mr. Farrell and Mr. Roddy.
Thanks, Senator Wall, for your questions and time to come in with us. Just short and brief, I think we need, and it was mentioned to our chair here, that revenue, and I suppose we go back there again, as I was brought back up there with the previous speaker there, about dockets and all this stuff. Like, revenue there, except the statement or return of account from any accountant. They should be accepted by anyone else. This thing at miles of trimmings, that's totally uncalled for, unnecessary. So maybe we need to look at that all being removed. I'm not going to hug it here, because I know you've got here before you. So,
thank you, Mr. Roddy.
Yeah, look, John was going to come in just briefly. We do need. I know some of it has been covered, so we won't track over that. I think, especially the points about the net versus the gross. Just on the increase from the 20 to 50,000, I was unaware, Senator Wall, that it was already there for carers. So it looked, obviously, if it is, there's a precedent set. So I don't see why we can't get that, there. I think that would definitely be a help. So I'm going to ask John Joe if it's okay, just to say a few words.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yeah, thanks, Cahill. Just in the yearly review, instead, make it as simple as a tick-the-box exercise. Instead having the farmer coming along, the first year, the second year, trying to gather all his receipts, spend probably 2 days inside in the kitchen table trying to get the receipts together, trying to make everything to add up, and it puts pressure, puts mental pressure on him. As well as that, you have an in-person review every 3 years anyway. So the tick the box, for your yearly review would work better, And as well as what Tyke said there about, we have double payments coming in this year now for the acres. There are going to be farmers out there now worried, how will I spend that acres payment now in such a way that I will be allowed to keep my farm assist next year? It's all adding up together and it's adding stress. So that's my comment, Kyla.
Yeah, and before bringing in Senator Wall, just on that double acres payment, what the committee will do is write directly to the Minister, making her aware of this payment and that there would be consideration given to that. So we will, on foot of this meeting, write to that. I'm going to bring in Senator Wall and bring back in the witnesses then. Senator Wall.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. I think there's an important point to have to be made is what is acceptable to revenue is not acceptable to social protection. I've come across this problem in the last couple of weeks myself, actually with a farming family and with another family indeed. So I think it's something the committee might look at because it's a very important point made. I take Ms Lyle's point in relation to the gathering up of the information, and I've come across that on a fairly regular basis as well. So again, just to thank our guests here today, and it's something I'm sure the committee will come back to